And do we have that thing about being recorded, what we supposed to the beginning of the meeting? We have to do that?
I don't think you have to anymore.
No, just it's really being recorded, it's being recorded.
Oh, I think it already did it.
Did it do it? Because.
Yeah, because at my corner says it's recording.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I can do the backup recording too.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So I will start the meeting tonight for and welcome people to the Conservation Commission meeting for July 10th, beginning July 10th, 2024. We're going to go a little bit out of the order that was printed on the agenda for a couple of reasons, it's administratively. And so we're going to start off with the notice of intent off Lake Street, Prospect Street, titled Prospect Hill Village, construction of a 156 unit townhouse development, which will impact bordering vegetated wetland, bank, land under impact bordering vegetated wetland, bank, land under water bodies and waterways, bordering land subject to flooding and riverfront areas. Lou Petrosi is the applicant. Paul McManus from Ecotech is the representative. I just want to make a couple of comments before you start there, Mr. Petrosi. One is that it's a very short notice. We received that our peer consultant reviewer, Matt Burns, will not be able to be here tonight. And potentially maybe may have some issues with future coverage from both Matt and or the company. This was very unexpected, very short notice. So with that in mind, since some of the first points about the project that you are proposing is discussion about the fee structure, getting approval for that, we want to be on board that you are approving peer review. And a number of the conditions that you put in your amended acceptance of the peer review proposal received from the BSC group prior to this meeting were for a single NOI project. And you have made it clear at the first hearing that we had about this project that there will be a second potential NOI related to sewer line. Right? Can you give us a quick update on that?
Sure. I spoke with my engineers today and we'll have the plan for the sewer planning profile, probably at the middle of next week sometime. We'll submit it. I know we've had this conversation about two NOIs or whether or not to include it in this NOI, and we'll try to make that decision going forward to see what impacts there are and how it affects the resource areas as we go through the area where the sewer is going to be.
So how close do you think you are to getting that sewer line information to potentially combine them into one?
Everybody's on vacation, so I don't have a chance to.
Ballpark guess, a month?
Probably within the next 30 days for sure.
So one of the questions that I had for you was combining them to us as Concom would be much more advantageous to moving the process forward, because I perceive that every time you submit something in the way of information regarding one part, one of the NOIs said sewer line versus the roadway crossing and townhouse, which is the other NOI that you currently have before us. We're going to want to stop and compare the two, because under the town bylaw, the segregation portion of the town bylaw, if one project is dependent on the other, and these two are obviously dependent on each other, you cannot segregate them. So the effects of anything environmentally of one project NOI will have to be compared at the same time to the other NOI, slowing the process down and costing potentially more money. I was going to ask Matt Burns, should he be here tonight, how that would be impacting potentially his initial proposal, knowing that we would have potentially two going back and forth as opposed to one combined, but we don't have the information available from him, so I can't.
So for tonight, I'd like to sort of push the peer review off a little bit, because there are a couple of other issues that I'd like to have a discussion with the commission on before we get into peer review, because as you know, we're in front of the planning board for a special permit, and that application has been reviewed. We've had several meetings, and it's being reviewed, and we're getting comments from various department heads, police and fire, and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And as you know, you were part of in the commission when we had the subdivision, and we were currently in litigation with the Conservation Commission regarding the crossing of the river using the crossing that's existing. So this obviously is a much bigger project. And as you may have read in, the DEP memorandum when they assigned the file number, they've opened up, the conversation about multiple access points, which is part of the alternatives analysis that we would have to go through to demonstrate that we have access to the upland or that's otherwise unobtainable from public ways. So what I'd like to do, and I won't, I probably will have some more information with details for your next meeting. You fully anticipate we'll be continuing, but I want to have the commission thinking about the various alternatives for that, for access to the site. Some are valid access points, some are shown simply for emergency access and not considered to be viable access to avoid a crossing of the river. So for example, DEP makes mention of access from Lakeview Avenue as a means to access the upland portion on the back of the property. Well, we don't, and this is, up for discussion, we don't consider that to be a viable access. And we're simply providing it, even though we have, we're simply providing it to accommodate a potential emergency access on Lakeview Avenue. So that's one potential alternative that will be on the table for the commission to say yay or nay as far as the project goes. The other access, as we've shown on the plan, is off of Prospect Street on the northerly side, northerly property line. So since we've last met, there's been some other discoveries relative to that access, which one has to do with the Bellingham Fire Police having their firing range in that location. So it turns out that that firing range encroaches on our property by, into the middle of a roadway, basically. And under the regulations, you're not supposed to have any residents within 500 feet of a firing range. So that issue has to be resolved in some fashion. And also that the recycling center is encroaching on our property 40 or 50 feet in that area there. So this whole roadway that we show there is actually, the recycling center has been putting their material there for many years. The other issue that came up recently at a planning board meeting was the fire chief said, well, he doesn't like cul-de-sacs. So he is, I think, proposing or suggesting that this roadway continue out to Lake Street, which brings us into other riverfront impacts on that area. There is the possibility of having two separate projects, potentially with one access here, and then one project here without any crossing. So I'm not sure from a public safety standpoint that would be a good idea to have one access point for 100 so odd units and one access point for 20 or 30 units. These are the things that I'm going to, before we get into any peer review of the whole project, we need to have a meeting of the minds as to which, and this is between the planning board and department heads and the commission. We need to have a meeting of the minds as to what is the layout of this development going to be. And as I've said before, people have talked about density and all that stuff. The road system that's here right now is not necessarily going to change depending on whether or not we have 100 units or 150 units or 80 units or that sort of thing. It's pretty much going to stay the way it is. The question is, okay, do we build this road out to Lake Street and impact this riverfront area? do we cross this area here and impact this already degraded riverfront area? Do we build this road or not do this road? Should we abandon this road and put all these units on this side? There's a lot of options. And they don't really matter much to me either way. We just need to know. So we're not bouncing back and forth between jurisdictions of and authority of boards.
One quick question here, though. So you mentioned the 30-day window roughly for the sewer portion. The sewer line obviously is gonna try to service all of these housing, not obviously, I'm asking, is that supposed to service every one of those units that's being proposed?
So,
So if you have multiple ways of going in and out, or potentially moving a whole strip of, as you pointed out, by the firing range and the TP, and the town recycling center, that moving those over to another location. The sewer line
So what-
also
yeah.
would change dramatically. Suddenly you don't have a sewer line going in one way, it might have going other, or maybe it doesn't.
well, I don't think it will, because the way the system is gonna be designed, there'll be a pump station here. The sewer line has to go in this direction here. Unless, well, there are no unless, because this is town-owned land, and, you know, I don't think the town's gonna give us an easement to go through their property.
Probably.
So a pump station will be somewhere in this area here. Before the wetland crossing, and it's gonna be pumped up in this direction. If there are units in this location of the property, then there'll be a connection from here, another smaller pump station that will pump it up and combine.
From the main bulk of the units, where that big loop, roadway there, yeah, how are they getting to the pump station?
This is all gravity to the pump station.
Just gravity.
So it's not, the sewer is the least of the issues, because it all works. If this is a force main up to Black Moss Street, and then gravity from Black Moss Street down to the pump station across street. There was, while we're on this, you know, the DEP made a mention of this being available for potential access to the site, which doesn't alleviate the ability to get to the back portion of the land, which is pretty substantial. So the reason why I want to come out tonight, I'm kind of short on it with all the meetings that we have scheduled tonight, but I wanted to come and make sure that the commission was, had these thoughts in mind when we have a discussion. I've requested that Rob, arrange a meeting of the department heads and some board members to actually sort of hash these issues out. And I would hope that someone from the Conservation Commission would attend, so that we can have an honest discussion about what is preferred, what isn't preferred. Because we're not interested in getting into litigation over crossing or whatever, you know. It's unfortunate that we got into it the first time, but it's a unique site. What we tried to do originally was to maintain this section of the property, and primarily this section as undisturbed open space that would remain in its current condition. But with the problem of competing with the fire chief, which may happen, may not happen, depending on what's going on, that the roadway going through here would, this is an alternative that we had previously discussed, but that's essentially, this shows a series of roadway network that may have units on it or not have units, just an option. It's just to give the commission a visual of what, now this doesn't have the crossing.
Right, I'm gonna set it off, yeah.
So from an emergency response perspective, this is not a good layout. It's good for down here, but it's not good for any of this. So I just asked the commission to keep an open mind as to what alternatives are possible and which alternatives are reasonable to work on this type of project, given the fact that, you know, we all have regulations, we know what the rules are. We know what the regulations are, we all have attorneys, we're not interested in that. We just wanna design a project that is gonna be acceptable to the town.
Can you just draw your finger across that map there, approximately where the Franklin and Bellingham property line is?
Franklin line is right here, goes across.
Everything from your hand, finger down.
Everything from my finger down to Prospect Street. Prospect Street is Franklin. The town line's about 140 feet back from Prospect Street,
All the way over to Lake and then,
all the way over, well. It cuts over here. It doesn't go to the intersection of Lake and Prospect. It comes back down here and then goes this way.
and so everything from your finger there up is Bellingham.
Correct. The intersection is
Just for the
Bellingham,
members.
is Bellingham, just so you folks can get some perspective here.
That's right.
But, so, as I said, I just wanna get the thoughts going. Before we start spending, there's no sense in having peer review on different alternatives.
Absolutely, we'd rather solidify
Right,
things.
so, I'm meeting with the planning board next Thursday night. And, Rob is going to, set up a couple of dates where we can get together as, like a, sort of advisory group. And try to figure out what's the Conservation Commission has certain interests, planning board, public safety, that sort of thing, and sort of work our way down to a plan, and then we can start reviewing impacts for various things. Now, the sewer, as you earlier indicated, combine it to, that has impacts for both riverfront and wetland. I haven't seen the plan yet, so I don't know if there's a filling, but it's obviously a temporary, impact. Restoration is over the sewer line when it goes in. It is gonna happen, but it is going to be in the riverfront portion of it, and it is there is a area down in here where I think that it requires a crossing underneath the brook of some sort. I don't know if that's part of the river or it's intermittent. But so those are the things that I wanted to get the commission thinking about tonight. I didn't think that I could do it appropriately on Zoom.
Right, probably no, it's good that you have those plans for the meetings that Rob will be scheduling, will those be available?
Oh, yeah, I bring these are the.
If there are electronic versions that you're willing to share earlier on to have members
Yeah,
look at to get their thoughts and ideas that may not be able to attend the meeting, that would be helpful
yeah,
too.
I'm gonna try and refine these because. Believe it or not, these plans have been in play for 2 years, 2.5 years when we started working on this project. We've had meetings during COVID, meetings, with not publicly, with department heads previously. So these plans have all been in the mix
Right.
for quite some time, because this has always been our objective, was this type project. The subdivision was simply a protection against the zoning change. So, so with that, that's kind of, we can set aside for now the peer review, because I'm sure Matt is gonna probably wanna, it's more responsibility, because now they've reviewed the wetland resource areas all in through the major part of the project. I don't think they've reviewed the wetland line that's down in here, because we just recently flagged it, so that's gonna have to get added to the mix. And when we get there, that's as you said, another set of threshold issue impacts relative to.
Speaking of thresholds, I remember at the last meeting, you had talked about how the sewer line is eventually gonna connect and go down towards Cross Street. And then tie into the line that's there, I guess, already. And there's a pump station down there, I think, too.
Across street.
And across street, and then go down to Woonsocket, but that Woonsocket was reviewing the data that you were preparing.
No. When socket has a problem with sludge,
Okay.
not
Just
sewer
Ross,
capacity.
okay, just checking.
Different.
I want to
Sludge
make
is,
sure I heard that again.
sludge is from, you pump out a septic system, they have to bring it somewhere.
You probably have to do an ENF, environmental.
Oh, yeah,
notification
eventually
form.
an ENF gets
There's
done.
over, I think it's 10,000 gallons or something, I'm sure it'll exceed
Yeah,
that.
but also, just while we're on the topic is, there are resource areas along Cross Street that have also been flagged by us
Okay,
and surveyed, and they'll be on the plan
sure.
that will show you know, what we have to do there, in the public way. So there are, it's not as simple as I say, drawing a line down here and just saying, well, you know, just show them the commission. It's gonna be another 4 sheets of plan that will be added to the plan that just.
To connect out to.
Yeah, that'll be strictly dedicated to sewer installation, construction. And that'll be, a lot of it will be off-site, it'll be cross street, Blackmar, and, you know, off-site improvements.
Okay.
So, that's really kind of how I'm like to proceed, if it's okay with the commission, if we continue to the next meeting.
I was gonna say, given the
Maybe
timing
even-
and the meetings, you wanna go to the second meeting and?
Yeah, well, that would give us a chance to meet with the
That'll be
planning
28th
board.
of
And
August.
what is it, August?
28th of August on my calendar. is the
28th,
second conference.
one meeting, all right. Well, we might,
14th and 28th.
I think you guys are both saying different things. You're requesting the end of August. You're requesting 2 meetings from now?
What,
Oh, 2 meetings from now, that's right, that would be the 14th of August.
yeah, well, 30 days from today.
Okay.
Basically,
Okay.
30 days. And that'll give us a chance to meet with, department heads and have something to report back. That
Okay.
is, hopefully we get a consensus on things. And obviously, if you have any comments between now and then, or preferences as a commission, there's nothing to prevent you from, you know, reaching out or writing a comment to the planning board or that sort of thing.
So definitely be in touch with, keep closely in touch with Robin. So, okay, great.
All right.
Commission members have any initial, without getting into major discussions with details of the project, which we don't really want to do at this point? Any idea, any questions?
No issues at this point. It's still clearly bridging from conceptual into design development.
Yep.
And there's nothing solid enough for us to review.
I think we're pretty much on agreement there.
I think it's interesting that when we had, these plans have been in the mix for years, when we were talking about the original crossing for the subdivision, and we asked about alternatives that had been proposed for going around to the right-hand side, we were told there weren't any, so.
Well, and I'm not sure that this was one of the things that we were considering at that time, but when we started to look at where would we disturb and leave alone, we, as a group, decided that we should leave the whole contiguous part of the property as in its natural state, or what its current condition. And so this ended up being the least impact, as you'd say, because over here we have other resource areas that are more that impact this more riverfront area, where over here there isn't. So as the project expanded, because of the density, the number of units, you know, we're trying to figure out where. So for example, I could have taken these units and put them down here, overlooking the pond. We didn't think that I didn't like that idea, even though I think overlooking the pond could end up being a good thing, but. So we have other areas where we could put units, but we're just trying to pick the areas where, if we're gonna build a roadway out, we knew that the commission preferred that road out there, so why not go with the commission's preference and put the road there? That's how we did it. But the reason why, under the previous subdivision, this was not an economically equivalent proposal as compared to coming in the way we designed it. And that's really how it came out. I mean, you know, the standard is, it has to be economically equivalent. And we couldn't build the same amount of roadway, get the same number of lots for the same price. So it's like about $800,000 more to achieve the same number of lots. So that's was the reason for that. And plus, I don't know, if you were on the commission before, it was, we never really could get the commission to make a decision on which way was preferred. And I didn't go to all the meetings, and we were on Zoom, so I'm trying to avoid that situation today with this project, to get so consensus of this is the network that we're gonna try and improve. We're gonna make it as environmentally sensitive and feasible as much as possible, and then
Well, it will be a complicated project as well. Our consideration obviously is for conservation, regulations and protection and enforcement, or not enforcement, regulations and policies. There are a lot of other players in the game with this department, so let's see how it proceeds.
Yeah.
And Steve,
Lou, have you met with the fire department, the fire chief yet, relative to his position on the cul-de-sacs? I was at the planning board meeting and he seemed rather
Adamant.
firm.
Yeah, well, I think, I haven't met with him personally, but I know Bill from Hopkinton and other places, so. What I will say is that, a lot of the fire chiefs have this new, 527 CMR. And there's a lot of gray areas in the regulations that they try to, and I would say that it's kind of an overreach.
On
For,
his part,
yes, so,
he's
yeah,
exercising AHJ, so.
I know, but there is the state fire marshal who I've had to bring
In
in.
any case, the question stands. Have
Yeah,
you
so I
met with him?
I haven't met with him directly, but we've had conversations, my engineer, we have another project that we filed recently off of North Street. That also is being reviewed, and he's had, my engineer on that project has had dialogue with him as well, so. Listen, everybody's doing the best they can for the position that they're in. And it just has to be a balance between the property developer and the public safety. So it's not really anything personal or anything like that, but.
No, I didn't see it that way. It just, he seems to be quite an advocate for overall safety, and his reasoning against the cul-de-sacs certainly made sense.
Well, let me just say this. In the regulations that he's referring to, it has a regulation regarding dead end streets and cul-de-sacs, so. And your subdivision regulations all require cul-de-sacs. So if you're going to reinvent the wheel with, regulation that is completely discretionary, then you really need to look at all your regulations, because you can't have one person arbitrarily making a decision without any basis. I mean, you gotta read the regulation. I don't wanna put.
No,
all right, well, I don't want to go too much on the fire department line. Starting off the track. Anybody else have any other comments, questions? Okay, I'll accept a motion to continue this hearing for the Off Lake Street Prospect Hill Village to the evening of August 14th at 7 PM.
So
Neil, thank you. Second, I need to point out for the administrative department, think that we've been joined by Commission Member Noel Lewis online. She's on Zoom, so for voting purposes, she needs to state her name when she's voting.
Mr. Chair, do you wanna, there's some people in the public here that maybe I have a few minutes, I can.
Yeah, I can give a minute or two, but if you, yes, sir, go ahead. Identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, John Holman, Bellingham. I think we're hearing in the last meeting and at this one that it's somehow now incumbent on the town to become the designer and help solve the layout issues that the applicant is encountering. And I would like to remind everybody for the record that the town did review and approve a set of plans. You're all set, you're ready to build. You can build 14 or 21 houses or whatever it is. And you're making your own problems here by trying to mathematically put the greatest feasible number of units.
Excuse me.
That the law allows.
Yeah, so, sir, I just wanted to be clear, the permit that or the approval that you're talking about is the previous project that
That
was,
is correct.
okay, that has been withdrawn and accepted by the state as being withdrawn. Circuit, the Superior Court, however, the DEP is still
So.
requiring regular updates on that process.
So the way the process is, you're not totally correct, because the plan wasn't approved by this commission. So it's not buildable as it presently stands.
We did deny it, and then he basically sued us.
So at the current time, The EP has issued a stay. Which means that they know that we've filed this other project. And they're waiting to see what happens with this other project before they make a ruling on the first project. And the same thing is with the bylaw. The bylaw has been appealed to Superior Court, and that matter is still pending. We're between each, I don't know the exact disposition at this
I
point.
think it was closed, I believe.
Yeah, so,
So the
between
DEP is still in status
Right.
for this.
So-
We did deny that project.
yeah, so what you're saying is not totally correct.
Okay.
And I will say this, that this is not untypical of other communities where, in fact, we've had, they encourage us to have departmental meetings with people prior to the filing of an application to get input. Not that they're designing the project, I mean, I can push this thing through if you want me to. I'm not looking to do that, but I can push this thing through. I'm not even worried about it. All I'm trying to do is, we've had comments, we're trying to do the path of least resistance and come up with a plan that is agreeable to more, to the most people that we can.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your comments. Ma'am?
Yeah, so my name is Bonnie Wheeler from 289 Lake Street. I just want to make sure that the commission is aware of all the documentation that the town of Franklin has sent to the planning board in Bellingham. So there's, it's all on their website, so we go to the Franklin conservation meetings as well as the Bellingham ones. As early as January of 2025.
2025, ma'am, wasn't that?
January 25th of 2024. Franklin sent this to Bellingham saying that they have major concerns about this development. And then on February 12th of 2024, Franklin sent it to Bellingham saying that they're rejecting access of Prospect Street to this development. So the development access will have to come from Bellingham, which means I would assume Lake Street. And that's all wet down there. And so I just want to make sure that everybody, that you're aware of this. April 24th of 2024, it says here, from Franklin to Bellingham, it cannot be used for access to the multifamily housing in Bellingham. And then as recently as May 2nd, they're again saying, now on the letter from May 2nd that came from Franklin to the planning board in Bellingham, I know you're conservation, but this went to the planning, saying that they're not recommending access at all because it's just going to impact. Franklin's worried about what it's going to do to Franklin. We're worried about what it's going to do in Bellingham. So I just want to make sure that you know that Franklin has denied access to this from Prospect Street. It's on the website. It's in the.
Excuse me, please, Mr. Chairman.
Let me just make a comment. We are aware that there's been communication going
Okay.
on. We're not privy to every one of those emails because.
Oh, they're not, they're letters.
No, I understand
Yeah,
letters.
okay.
Letters, sorry.
They're on their website.
Yeah, we realize there's been communication on, we realize that there are issues that the applicant is facing with the town of Franklin.
Mhm.
We have to treat those issues separately from what we review. And
Okay,
proceed as if Franklin hasn't said anything, or we don't know about that. At
okay,
this point in time, however, that could change going down the road. We realize that planning board has been working very closely with us. It hasn't reached Conservation Commission issues or regulations yet. But when it does, if it does, and Franklin has similar issues on that side of things too, we certainly will be notified directly probably by them. And conversations and communication will change, but generally, we're aware that there have been issues with Franklin.
Mhm.
And at this point in time, that's as far as, particularly in the very early stages here of the project, where we really don't have much input at all yet.
okay. But I just wanted to make
We
you
want
aware
to
of it.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
bringing that up to
No,
us.
thank you.
I don't think I want to.
It's on Franklin's
Thank
website.
you very much.
Yeah.
I'll address those comments at the planning board.
That's fine. Thank you. That's probably more appropriate place. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so, sir, what,
David Nichols, Blackmount Street in Bellingham. I live on the railroad bed, the old railroad bed that Lou is proposing the sewer access through. And that is through the wetland. It crosses the wetland more than once. The edge of the perimeter of that rail line frequently has kettle ponds and other wetlands that stay wet pretty much year round. At the old trestle crossing, it's actually, the railroad bed is actually holding up a pond So in order to cross it, that pond is gonna be gone. And then when you get from there heading down into the town part of Blackmar Street, heading towards the housing, it's all lined with very, very large trees, which most of us know, whatever you see in the sky part of the tree, it's that big underground. So if you dig that up, you're gonna lose all of those trees through the wetland. All of them. It's gonna wipe out an entire area, and that's all the retention of the soil and all that stuff. So, you know, for my,
That will be
sounds like a
carefully reviewed.
non-starter to me.
Yeah, that would be a very carefully reviewed, but since we haven't the material in front of us, well, we hear your comments and made note of them. That will be appropriately reviewed by peer reviewers. They'll be talking about all the impacts of that. Wetland scientists will be involved in this. This is a very complicated project and large scale as well, so it'll get the attention it requires. Ma'am?
How do we get Marjorie Turner Holman, Bertine Victor Street? How do we get a species survey on the Hogue Brook?
Endangered
area?
species type you're concerned about?
Down below Cross Street that's already been identified as an area of concern. And so the same brook is all going through this property. How do we request or get something in motion for a species survey?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer right now, but we'll get back to you. If you get a hold of Hannah at the conservation office, she'll follow up with that and we'll find, there's some sure method to have an interested party, citizen, make a state agency, probably endangered protection, a program that there is for endangered species potentially to review that.
National Heritage.
National Heritage, sorry.
Was there a specific species?
Ma'am? Go ahead.
Peg 4, Broxton Drive in Franklin. I'm asking about your clarification where you said you don't have, not any concern, but you have to focus on conservation. You're aware of the communication.
Mhm.
So is there somebody in the town that is centrally, so they can give out the information
Give out the information to,
to any concerned departments, conservation, planning, things like that?
you're looking to your right.
So my office has been getting correspondence with Franklin, so we're the ones that received the town council letter, so.
But I mean, in regards to this project, is there one central person who has the info from every department and can let people know if something's coming up that they should be aware of?
Yeah, so anything coming from the town of Franklin has come to me.
No, I mean, in regards to this project. I don't mean from Franklin, I mean. anything
Oh, I'm
that-
sorry, you mean,
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
Yeah.
it affects all these different departments.
yeah, so,
Depending on what it is you're referring to that comes to it, the attention that might need to be spread out from the departments. Generally, the answer is, it depends on who it comes to, and then it's not sent through a central, there's not a town organized, to my knowledge, central source for all projects to be universally notified to every department consistently. If something comes to our attention and we feel planning board or building department or some zoning department needs to know about it, the communication within the departments is very good, I think, and happens.
We do
But-
have a monthly meeting.
yeah, I apologize.
I gotta go.
Answer
Okay.
that
Well,
correctly.
thank you.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure something didn't fall through the cracks. and wanted-
No, yeah, it's,
Lou, do you want to hear the vote or you want to read in the minutes? We haven't had the actual vote yet, we're still taking comments.
They can keep going if you want.
Okay, thank you.
I'll watch it on TV.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry. I need to have the applicant hear that before he lets it run.
But
Okay,
no, oh, no, I'm not.
all right, so, yes, ma'am, we have to cut off questions in a minute.
Pauline Aiello from Lakeview Ave.
Yes,
Any of you walk the area?
we've walked,
Yes, we have.
a good portion of that entire project was walked during the previous project proposal
Okay,
by
so
multiple members on the commission.
one of the things is that there are a bunch of lady slippers. I saw them. I couldn't take pictures of them because I didn't have my phone. And I did go back again because of the weather. But this whole area is in wetland protection. Correct?
Not necessarily, ma'am.
A good
Water
part.
resources.
Water
I'm not saying that there's not resources there, I'm just saying they're not necessarily protected.
Water resources, and part of that, wouldn't that be an overlay kind of area?
No.
No, why not?
oh, I think you're referring to the zone two, the watershed protection overlay.
Planning board really.
Yeah, that, there's overview with the planning board, which I have to,
But it's the water resource area, to me, that, it's to protect our future water.
Right,
It's
sometimes the department that has purview over something that's titled that way might be confusing. I would defer to Rob if he's got an answer there.
that's for the aquifer protection overlay. That's what the zone 2 is. So there's a little bit of difference because essentially what Conservation Commission is looking at is the surface waters, the wetlands, that
Right.
sort of stuff.
There was a lot of that.
Yeah,
It's a
so
lot of
that's,
water.
and that's
Yeah.
different
It's a
than,
very complex site.
and that's different than the overlay that you're talking
Well, I
about.
thought that was that, it was one on top of the other, and part of that was the water resource.
Yep. Yeah, so,
And the wetlands is the big part.
yeah, so the surface water, the wetland pockets, that's all Conservation Commission. That overlay that you're talking about has to do with the aquifer, so groundwater
Uh-huh.
overlay. So that's conservation related because there's quite a few stormwater regulations and uses associated with those
Right.
regs. So, hopefully that answers your question.
Well, sort of.
Okay.
And also like that, the place that they want to send the sewer to, they're also getting the sewage from the new development at the top of Cross Street.
Mhm.
Is it big enough?
No.
I didn't think it was big enough.
That's,
And
that,
then you have to pump up. That to me, I know about gravity. I used to be taller. So, you know, you have to pump up. That doesn't make, and by doing that, you're gonna go over the Peters River?
this is what's being proposed. It hasn't been approved, so there's a long way to go and a lot of potential stopping points and
But all of
Because-
the things that he talks about are the same things he talked about last time I was here.
on a smaller scale, if you're talking about the other project by far,
The
sure.
whole, it's always the same things over and over again, and we're not getting anywhere.
Well, this is, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. This is going somewhere in that it's a completely different project, much larger project, much more complicated with many more, as I said, potential hurdles and obstacles.
Just, to me, just an individual, it sounds like he's trying to burn us out, so no one will come to the meetings.
Well, that's up to the abutters to stay interested and active, and I know it's been happening at the planning board level. I've heard from at least Steve here, who's attended some meetings, that this is one of the more highly attended meetings when this comes up. So my suggestion is we have always encouraged members of the public to stay involved, stay committed, don't get burnt out by repeated hearings where it doesn't seem like much progress is being made. A lot of stuff requires peer reviews, experts looking at the concerns that you have about the watershed areas, endangered species potentially being protected, trees being taken out in large undisturbed areas, previously undisturbed areas, all those kind of impacts. When people speak up about that, it's already brought to the attention by you guys, which is great, and ladies. And then the peer reviewers are paid experts to review that and discuss with us as the commission members what those impacts are gonna be. And if they're too egregious, then usually the developer has to find another alternative, less of something, a change in route, other things. But this is so early on in the process that you're bringing it all up and showing interest is terrific. And I encourage you to keep it up, keep attending the meetings on Zoom or on cable, sorry, not on Zoom, but cable 8 and, or in person, and, stay focused. This will be a long haul project. This is
Oh,
not.
thank you for listening. Thank you.
Yes, one more comment.
I just have one quick question, sorry.
Sure.
Why was the previous project denied?
There was a denial based on an unwillingness to continue to peer review, fund the project, which we felt was required. And we were entitled to have, and the applicant didn't want to continue to pay the fees that were going to be required to continue to review these detailed parts of the project. So that was the point of.
The legal sense of that is that they did not provide the information requested.
Right,
Okay,
via
thank
the
you.
peer review.
Great, thank
Sorry,
you.
one more thing I did. You did have your hand up, sorry, I didn't see it.
Charles McCarthy on Lakeview Avenue.
Uh,
Looking into the Bellingham pages and stuff, you all have a listing with flood planning, floodplains and stuff, and you have a national insurance program on it, and it shows the firm, it's the National Flood Insurance Program, and it has a thing called the Flood Insurance Rate Map. And you have the pages, different pages on that. And it shows all of the flooding area on Silver Lake, behind Silver Lake, all the way down to Pete's Road. And on page the flood zoning in Bellingham.org, you have it under the Jinx Silver Lake page and the west of Blue Links Maple Street page. And both of them all connect in a flood zone A. how does that get involved with the conservation if it's in a flood zone? How, are you aware of all of this being in a flood zone?
Not yet, because we haven't got that level of review, but certainly that would come up as fairly early on in the process by the peer reviewer to our attention. So I personally haven't, I don't think the commission members in the information, but this is so early on that will be certainly reviewed. If it's in a floodplain area, then
So if he's building in between the floodplain, does that mean all these houses are gonna have to have special flood insurance?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't want to say yes and have it be wrong.
It's
So-
only a little bit in zone A.
And what's that gonna do to the surrounding houses? Is that gonna make them have them get flood insurance as well?
Again,
Mhm.
I'm not qualified to answer that, so I won't try to guess.
Mr. Chair, you mind if a matter of fact, I don't know if there's any other questions, but I can just end with some closing comments to hopefully ease some things. So regarding the floodplain, that actually has come up on the planning board side as well, because there's a bit of overlap here with the floodplain. So if you're filling in floodplain, you have to have compensatory storage, so there isn't any flooding on site or downstream, but it's kind of planning related. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but just from what everybody has brought up with concerns about, the sewer issues with, the process not really moving forward. One of the things that the applicant has mentioned was this department head meeting for town staff. Something that was mentioned too about it's not the town's responsibility to design this. It is completely correct. It is not the town's purview. It's not the commission's purview. It's not the planning board, and it's not the abutters issue to design this. It is the applicant. The main reason for the staff meeting and to collect the minds from, because there are a lot of issues here that have been brought up in both planning and with the few hearings with conservation regarding floodplain, the sewage design, public safety, all of these issues. The main purpose is to tell Lou or the applicant that these are the issues that we see from all of the department heads. These are the issues. This is what you have to work with. It's not up to us to design it. It's not up to us to say that this location is better than this location. It's up to him. What we are simply doing is collecting the data we have from the ongoing hearings, because we can understand the frustration from the abutters that you're coming here. It's been, I think, 6 months from the planning side, and we're still not really going too much further. So this is the way to basically come to some resolution, and ultimately can be an approval, can be a denial, who knows? But really, there's a lot of issues at hand here, and that needs to be presented to Lou, since this process has just kept continuing on and on. So hopefully that kind of clarifies some things too, for everybody's knowledge.
Thank you, Rob.
Mike, can I add to that just a minute? Please don't interpret anything being said or not being said as evasive or non-committal. As I said and mentioned in the beginning, Lou's design isn't far enough to give us anything substantial to review. And we're not gonna sit here and guess and make suggestions as Rob highlighted. Planning board has told him some of the parameters he's gotta work within. Not everything. Again, they don't design it. And then when he comes up with a design, he'll issue a notice of intent, which he has not done yet, correct?
Well, for this initial project, he's issuing the sewer line when he hasn't yet. And then even the initial one is probably gonna have to be modified.
We have another one
So
for this project.
for a portion of the project, yes, but as Steve is saying, it's very early on in the process. Lots of things before we get to another meeting in a month will have probably changed in both the proposal potentially and the input that he's received from the various department heads and others. And we may be looking at a request to change the plan, the initial NOI, maybe a request to combine that with the sewer one, maybe a whole bunch of things. So it's very early on. Nothing's gonna be happening in the next month, and suddenly everything's designed and being built. Don't worry about that. This is, I would venture to say, my limited capacity as chair, this is gonna be months and months of reviews and meetings. And potentially into years. The projects have gone, as some other members in this room can attest to, on for years.
How long have you guys been with us?
well.
Eighteen.
Maybe? Yeah. So I hope that answered most of the people's questions here, and I will say thank you very much. We do have a vote that has a motion and a second to continue sorry, motion and a second. You should, yeah, James seconded it, I believe, director, and, so I will call for that vote. And I will do I'm going to roll call because we have one member online. James?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
No. Neil?
Aye.
Marianne?
Aye.
Noel online?
Aye.
Michael Herron here, I as well. So it's unanimous vote. That will be continued until the 14th at 7 p.m. Thank you. And so if anybody who's only here for that, I'll give you a minute or two if you want to leave the room, if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting or another portion of it, feel free to. I just want to give the room a chance to clear with a little less noise in the background.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Next time.
Make sure to stay interested or else.
Yeah. Stay involved.
That was just on the, yeah, I was trying to. Basically, there's a ton of that to do before you.
This is, they were all. This is very early. They just scratching the surface.
That's initial. Submitted. How much of that is applicable? All yes. I mean. Yeah. Doesn't seem no problem.
In the portal, I heard you look at the part where Lou has responded to the BSC proposal and I introduced one.
No.
Conditions.
No, the original work that was done on the previous
Right.
process, any areas that are within that scope would, that data would still be accurate.
Right.
But this
And
is,
you want that.
this
included,
is,
like, yeah.
this is much more expansive.
Right,
He
well,
wants
that's
to
my
include
point, because this is much more expansive.
Right.
How much of it is actually applicable?
We don't know that. That's why Matt had been here. I would ask him.
Yeah.
I stand by, I stand by my earlier comment. We asked and asked and asked multiple times about that access program. They denied that was even.
It wasn't,
And that's design team, correct, it's design team denied
it
that.
wasn't economic.
I have it on paper.
As chair, Joe, happy to see you here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay. And move along to the next item on the agenda, well, the first one on the agenda. Notice of intent for 217 Hartford Avenue, 700,000 square foot warehouse, BBW, bank, land underwater, impacts under WPA with mitigation of 39,358 square feet. Isolated in wetland and vernal pools under bylaw with mitigation. Jeff Curley is applicant from WS Bellingham and 4 Associates, and Brian Madden is the LEC Environmental Consultants representative. Thanks for being here tonight.
This is a new project, right?
This is our first time with people, we usually. So I'll ask the commission member, they've had an opportunity to review the draft order conditions that we've distributed. And see if you have initial concerns to discuss and want to start off with that question to you all, and Noel online as well. Any questions, issues? Okay, Noel, anything? Initially?
No questions for me.
Initially, okay. So I would ask then, hearing no questions from the board at this point. For a motion to close the hearing for the project DEP number 105-1945 and
If I got Mr. Chairman, we were given an opportunity to look at the draft as well, and did have some items that we'd like to discuss with the commission, if that's.
I'm not prepared to do that just at this moment. Let me finish with this.
I just didn't want to close the public hearing.
I'm not
Without an
saying that might, I'm not thinking that will necessarily happen, but I wanted to get to the discussion point since the commission members didn't have any issue. And usually at this point in time in the process, I'm not saying no to what you're saying there yet, but at this point in time in the procedures for, the hearing, we would get to the point of a motion and a second if the one is going to be made by the commission, then open it for discussion. Potentially a limited basis by the commission first, and then see where it goes from there and what's being said. So you may have an opportunity to respond, but I think we need to have a motion first. I'm not opening up for a general discussion at this point in time between applicant and commission members. I think we've had multiple opportunities to do that, the initial discussions, before a motion is made. So I will continue with, asking if there is someone who wants to make a motion and a second. And I need to condition that to be, I believe, for the sake of legality and propriety and whatever else, correctness, that it should be only made by one of the 4 eligible members of the commission to vote on this hearing. James and Don, I need to point out, and Steve, we're not at enough of the meetings and walkthroughs and so forth to be voting members for this particular hearing to be legally covered, and the applicant knows that as they've been carefully monitoring all the remaining 4, Noel, myself, Ariane, and Neil have been the only
Why
ones.
am I excluded?
I think you haven't been to the previous, when you started the process had been going for about a year, I believe. When did you start, Steve?
March
Of,
23, he's applied
7
in
months.
November.
Approximately.
right, so, and the number of meetings that occurred in the first 7 months for how many? Approximately?
Before March, 5.
Right. So if you missed more than 2 meetings, we would have to invalidate that or do a whole recap process and so forth. So,
The recap process doesn't work anymore.
right, and I think that I was gonna say thanks for running because I thought that had been stopped by the state.
The Mullen meetings don't pass muster anymore,
Right, so,
unfortunately.
so if we are going to have a motion made and seconded, it should be either by one of the 4 members that I just mentioned are eligible to vote. Do we have a motion to,
I'll make the motion.
I would just,
excuse me. This is again to, issue an order of conditions. We have a motion by Ariane,
the motion is to, I'm sorry.
ask for motion to close the hearing for the project. I read the DEP and BWP number, sorry, I didn't finish. And then I got interrupted for 217 Hartford Avenue warehouse store management utilities replication and issue an order of conditions.
While the applicant has remaining questions on what's currently on the record.
I hear what you're saying, but that's not what I'm putting in the motion. I'm just stating an issue, an order of conditions at this point in time. If the commission members want to second it, fine. If not, then the motion will not be moved forward and we will not close the hearing.
I'll reiterate my second.
Oh, you made
the
it.
motion.
You made the motion.
I third it.
You can't do that, sorry. Okay. So, hearing no second, then I ask you to withdraw first because, well, actually, you don't need to do that, we don't have a second, so. Okay, so we will not be closing the hearing at this point in time. And I would like to make a statement before I open it up to any other discussion among commission members first, and then.
Noel just turned on her thing. Were you trying to say something, Noel?
Sorry, Noel, I didn't see it. That was this little tiny microphone down the bottom there.
Yeah, sorry guys. You know, I haven't been able to keep track of how many meetings I've attended, but if I can put in my second for this, I would like to.
I believe you're qualified to do so since you're one of the 4 voting members I have, so we do have a second by Noel, so. I will then like to make a statement and then see if the commission members have any additional discussion points before we do anything else. I'd like the commission to carefully consider the balance between the substantial impacts to regulated resource areas that this project will create versus the mitigation and long-term protection of the mitigation areas. I have some concerns about long-term protection to these areas at this time, providing long-term protection of these areas at this time, and providing more robust long-term protection, and would like the opportunity to work on some additional long-term protection language. And with that statement, I would say that that could happen in a number of ways, either not continuing to close the hearing, keeping it open for another 2 weeks, potentially to do that additional language. that I'd like to see if we can incorporate, or to close the hearing and issue an amended order of conditions potentially in the 21-day period, having the commission be able to view those before they sign off on the order of conditions at that point in time. Again, I will also mention that while the WS applicant has received a copy of this most current draft and may have some additional comments and so forth, it was made clear at multiple meetings, including the last one, that at a certain point, this commission becomes the sole architect and provider of this document, creator of this document, and that the applicant has avenues to pursue if they don't like what they see and have issues with the issued permit when it is provided to them. And that has been a consistent process that has happened for the last 40+ years. And while this process has taken a different turn with the agreement of the commission and support of the commission in having working workshops with the applicants, which extensive and a number of them have resulted in moving the process forward. And that was the desire of the commission. That was also something that was relatively unprecedented, not necessarily a bad thing, but relatively unprecedented. But the part about continuing to help draft or tweak or amend an order of conditions that is the Conservation Commission's purview, I feel, and this is up to the commission to discuss at this point in time if they want to do so, come to a final point where we have the authority and should continue to finish this document the way we want to see it finished, without further input necessary from the applicant. I think there have been multiple opportunities to do that. So, although they have received a copy, it does not necessarily require a response. I believe we were within our purview to not entertain additional discussion with the applicant at this point in time, but that's up to the commission. So I'd like to hear from each member something in the way of response, so we have a true sense of where the commission wants to go. And majority rules.
Look the other way.
So I'll start with Ariane. Thank you.
So you said that you were concerned with part of it and want time to.
Right, in reviewing the last couple of weeks, I felt there are a couple of areas, and I don't have specific language to refer to yet. I think that could come together fairly quickly. I'm not looking at months of delay or anything like that, but I think that there is some additional protection for the resource areas and so forth, and mitigation areas that could be put in place at this point in time to just keep things clear for down the road. And I'd like to have the opportunity to work on that.
So would you be able to do that if we voted to close the hearing?
My understanding is that if the commission has to sign the document, if we vote to close the hearing and issue an order of conditions, it can be an amended one. And that would be something the commission members obviously have to see before they can sign off on.
Well, haven't we in the past voted on closing and issuing an order of conditions and not had the order of conditions written up yet?
Correct.
Yes, many times, many
So-
times.
Most of the time, it usually goes.
Right, this has been unprecedented in having drafts prepared and made available to the applicant. That is something that has never really been done before. And it's been done, but here in this particular case, but at some point in time, it needs, I believe, and that's up to the commission, to stop and we get the document the way we want it and we provide it to the applicant. They have avenues to pursue. Should they not like it, they can appeal, they can do whatever they need to do. There shouldn't be major surprises in the document, but that's not to say that that doesn't occasionally happen. I have heard that can happen in the past. But generally, where we are now is further along than we are, so that could be closed, or you can withdraw the motions and we get a second, and this is an option, other option to present logistically and procedurally. My understanding is you could withdraw the motion that you made. We get a second to withdraw. It's voted on, and then the motion is withdrawn to close the hearing. So the hearing is still open, then you could continue for 2 weeks, close at that time and issue the order of conditions that would have been amended as opposed to potentially amended, if that's what the commission would like to do too.
Interesting.
One more question.
It adds another hearing one way, yes,
So when we close it, do we have 21 days?
21 days, yes. And I'm not proposing it would take that would be necessarily 21 days, but more than just tonight. I certainly not prepared to, have some comments, Neil.
I guess I'm curious about why the parliamentary procedure to have a motion to close something that we're obviously not ready to close.
Well, that's why I asked if the commission members other than myself had issues. I knew I did, but I.
Right, but obviously, obviously there are issues that you have that you'd like to address, and I don't think motioning to close the hearing, offering that, entertaining that motion was probably,
Well, it can be withdrawn. That's why I presented that option. So if the commission feels, oh, if Mike has concerns, there's a way to do that. I perhaps.
I think it was an unnecessary way.
Okay, I agree, potentially.
I think it was an unnecessary way to do that.
Okay, well,
I don't think we needed to go there with the motion to close, and even if we did, what we say, what we vote to close on tonight is not the final document.
Correct.
It's not the final document until we put our signatures on.
Correct.
So we've never done that before. We've rarely had the order done when we vote to close the hearing.
Correct.
Rarely, so,
So and again, I'm new at this, so that, you might be very much right. Maybe my initial comment should have been that I'd like to have the opportunity to potentially put in some different language into sections to provide some more
yeah,
robust protection.
that would have been a better use of our time and discussion.
All right, so I
on that-
apologize
on
for
the-
delaying things with the parliamentary part. but
Yeah.
Moving beyond that, because we do have an option, I'd like to see what your other thoughts are on that, so we can.
Well, I would be interested in hearing your input on what you think the issues you have with the order as the draft as it currently stands. I also would be interested to hear Mr. Curley's comments as well as,
Okay.
just for full consideration. They've been involved this long in the process, and I agree with you 100%. When we come down to the final document, it is our document, and you will do with it as you will.
Okay,
Hopefully, we don't usually get to that point, because when we get to this point, we've got a consensus and everybody is. Probably nobody's gonna be, if anybody's really happy, then something went wrong. You guys aren't gonna be completely happy. We're not gonna be completely happy, and that's, I think, where we land 99% of the time. So
okay, thank you.
that's what I have.
Steve?
Just two comments. First one on the, relative to the opening and closing, I'm gonna abstain from that if I'm not voting on it, which I'll have to discuss with you later. That said, if you're of the position that there's more work to do, then let's keep it that simple and do the more work.
I concur with that 100%.
Okay, thanks, James.
Yeah, I'll try to keep my comments brief, but I have, I think obviously less familiarity with the project as a whole, so I have less concern as a whole. I've had less time to kind of digest this. I will say from my professional experience, it's odd to have an order of conditions drafted 3 or 4 times with an applicant. Being an applicant on many projects on towns in Eastern Mass, we rarely ever see an order of conditions until after the project's already closed. I know this is a complicated project, complicated spot that we have some very sensitive areas. But I do wholeheartedly agree that this is a document that the Conservation Commission owns and holds. And the applicant will do what they will once the order of conditions is issued. They feel or follow through with those conditions as written, is up to their discretion.
Okay, thank you. Noel, I'd like to hear just what your thoughts are online.
Mike, if you got ideas to improve the order for ecological benefit, I'm all for hearing them. But I do think the applicants deserve our respect because they have been working pretty diligently. But Mike, I would absolutely review any additions you have to make to the order.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will defer to the vice chair's request to hear what the.
Actually, can I say this one?
Sorry, yeah, absolutely.
Just a thought I'm having is that I feel like what Mike's concern is and closing the hearing are two separate topics, because like we're saying, you can write. Majority of order conditions are written after a closing, so. Like both can happen at the same time. A closing can happen while also having concerns, if that makes sense.
And making potential amendments,
And amendments, yeah.
right, because the document is a document until.
Well, it's not
Right.
an amendment because it hasn't been signed. It's not the order.
Well, yeah, that's
It's
maybe
not
not the
the
right
order
word.
yet, so it's not amended.
Changes.
Edits, changes.
Edits would be the
Right,
correct.
right.
Okay, right.
Well, no, I mean, that's a legal,
Okay, that's good to know.
Right.
Yeah. I'd like to hear what the applicant has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate everybody's thoughts on the matter. We certainly have put in a lot of work here, and I understand that ultimately this is the commission's document to draft, and we're appreciative of the input we've been able to provide thus far and being furnished with a copy of this latest draft yesterday. I don't want this interpreted as these are edits, but I felt like the easiest way to communicate some of these comments was to actually prepare a markup of the document. There are literally a half a dozen things that I do not believe are.
Spelling and punctuation or
Pardon me?
spelling and punctuation or something? Like
Inconsistencies in intent largely. That if we have copies, we could provide to each of the members, and literally there are 6 or 7 places here that if we could just go through and.
Well, reading them out loud and having us try to interpret where they are on the document would be less beneficial than seeing a copy. So if you would provide those, I think that would just facilitate the hearing the comments portion. Again, I do want to emphasize that I don't see.
These are not edits, we're not.
No, I'm just gonna say, this is not a point in time in the hearing that I believe this is a discussion back and forth. That we would hear what you have to say and take into consideration or advisement and move right along there. So I don't expect the commission members to feel a need or a desire to, and I certainly don't feel a desire to respond to any of these edits, as you said, but, or whatever, comments, how you want to phrase it. But let's go through them quickly if we can.
So there are some clarifications suggested in the introductory portion, given the.
You want the name
thus far.
taken out?
Pardon me?
You want the name taken out?
I do, yeah. The applicant is the applicant. I'm not the applicant. I'm the applicant's representative here, but yes.
Okay.
My name should not be part of the decision. If that could be
But-
okay. Well, I think I'll simply jump ahead to condition number 25. Before I reverse. Thought something to do with the midway through that paragraph, there's a sentence fragment that remains that talks about the ability for the commission at their discretion to provide a substitute environmental monitor here. And then the sentence concludes with if the applicant's environmental monitor, period. And our recollection of the nature of this comment we had discussed going back and forth is if our appointee in the role of applicant, environmental monitor fails to fulfill the responsibilities that are now, they have been in condition 58, I believe they're now in condition 24, that it's the commission's discretion to install a new environmental monitor. So this was simply striking that sentence fragment from the end of the first sentence here and introducing the concept at the beginning. This was the suggestion, but that's the one area that, or one of the corrections or misstatements we just want to make clear in the final document.
that fragment may have been left over from the previous draft.
Perhaps.
So the period would appear at BCC.
The period would appear at BCC, correct? And we get across the concept of the fact that this is the commission's discretion.
Right.
If the monitor fails to meet the requirements of 24.
Okay.
The next one I would point to is 27. It's really a combination of 27, 36 to some degree, and 30. So 36 is probably the easiest place to start, and the most logical place to start. We have not made any suggested changes to that. I think what it says speaks for itself. If we're working in an area that's subject to your jurisdiction, state or local, we need to seek prior approval from the Bellingham Conservation Commission. Those are the rules we are operating in today. We have no issue with the format of that condition, and that is logical and makes perfect sense to us. It's inconsistent, however, with the way 27 and 30 are phrased. 30 in and of itself, the two sentences to some degree conflict from our perspective. We've added to maintain the first sentence, although I'm not sure it needs to be maintained, but the maximum amount of pervious surface associated with this project.
Wait, which number are you on?
I'm on 30 now, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Oh.
So we just wanted to be clear that we're talking about this project. But then the expansion of the impervious footprint is not permitted within 100 feet. Again, that aligns with condition 36. That says if we're proposing to make changes within 100 feet of a wetland resource area, we need prior approval of the Bellingham Conservation. But those are the rules we understand. We're perfectly comfortable living with those rules going forward. So this, but to suggest a maximum amount of impervious surfaces on the parcel, the two statements, 30 and 36 taken together, don't seem to align completely to us.
Not sure I'm getting the distinction between them not aligning. But, okay, well, so noted anyway.
We'll digest it. We'll digest it.
Okay.
30 and 36 on their own align. You're questioning the
30
relevance.
and
of
36, I guess, as
27.
clarified, align. Yes. Yes.
Wait, yeah, so what is not aligning again? You're saying 27?
Right now, 36 says very clearly, and we agree with it, obviously, is if we're doing work in a jurisdictional resource that's not part of this proposal and presumptive approval, we have to come back to you. That's what we've always talked about, right? 36 reiterates that. 30 says, as it's currently authored, the project as permitted constitutes the maximum amount of impervious surfaces allowed on the parcel, period. But then the next sentence seems to just kind of restate 36, where it says expansion of the impervious footprint is not permitted with a 100-foot buffer zone without prior approval of the Bellingham Conservation Commission. That makes sense, because we're going to be, 36 says that effectively in more words. We think the intent of 30 was that if we're doing any work within a jurisdictional area that is subject to the commission's jurisdiction, we have to come back to you. It says that we can't do anything anywhere, period, forever and ever, so help us God. And I don't think that was the intent of any of our conversations, nor do we think that was the intent of some of the discussion we've had about what would be included in this order. So we're seeking to clarify the intent of that condition to say the project that we're talking about as permitted constitutes the maximum amount of impervious surface with that project specifically.
If we
Okay, I understand the distinction now.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
fair. Okay.
And then 27 again seems to contradict 36 to some degree. 36 saying that if we're touching any state or local jurisdictional resource areas, we're back in front of you. 27 seems to take some of those areas off the table in terms of our ability to come back and seek permits to work in those areas. We would otherwise be allowed to make application under both the local bylaw and the state wetland regulation. So this is a clarification. The conservation restriction, as Mr. Stanley referred to once upon a time, the red line will be the red line. That is an area we are permanently restricting. We'll record a document that permanently restricts that. We have a meets and bounds description of that conservation restriction that will get attached to that document. It'll be recorded in the chain of title for the
And the
property.
areas that you're crossing off are more, I don't know if they're robust, more extensive than the areas under the conservation restriction, wetland replication areas, buffer zone
There are
restoration.
certainly BVW areas outside of the conservation restrictions that
So-
remain, and there are.
So it's
portions
more
of-
extensive, what was crossed out was more extensive areas that were protected or attempted to be protected or requirement of the order, then what you're proposing with the cross down. Okay, I can see what you're saying there.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, the crux of the issue there is the ability to define those areas clearly for purposes of protecting them. But yes, I think 36 clearly suggests that if we touch any of those areas, we need to make an application to the commission and get a permit from the commission to do so. We need to defend any impacts we're proposing, mitigate for those impacts. It's within the commission's discretion under the state and local bylaw to allow or deny that proposal. So that's what we're trying to get clarification on for 27.
Okay.
39 was a place where we saw for some reason, there's later on language that indicates there was a bridge concept on the way to the conservation restriction that while I'm blanking on the state was reviewing that a declaration of restriction could be filed as a bridge to get to that permanent conservation restriction.
What did they refer to it as, a D?
Declaration of restriction.
The declaration of restriction as opposed to conservation, or, you know.
There were two different things, and later on in, I think it's 49 and 50.
That's the piece you have to do, right, Brian?
In 49 and 50, there's a reference to the declaration of restriction. And again, the concept was it was a bridge towards the permanent CR while the permanent CR was being reviewed by the town. The latest version of 39 came back and struck the declaration of restriction as an option to present to you at the pre-construction meeting, and that was not what we understood to be where we landed on this. We have a variety of things that we need to provide to you at that pre-construction meeting. One of them is either a declaration of restriction or the conservation restriction, depending on where we are in those two processes. And for whatever reason, the condition had been edited such that the declaration of restriction was no longer an option as an item.
I'm not sure if the peer reviewer had made some editorial comments about that as part of the review process and drafting the last version. It may be difficult to find that out, because I'm not sure how accessible that will be, but we'll attempt to.
I think between 39 and 49 and 50, or sorry, 49. 49 is consistent with where I think we were. It still speaks to the declaration of restriction as a vehicle to get us to the CR, to get us the ability to start construction while the CR is being reviewed by the state, et cetera. There's still all the ability for this.
Which number was it that was stricken out of? Not 39,
it was taken out of the text in 39.
taken out of the text in 39.
Yeah. The
Because I do
effective
think
declaration of,
restriction put an underline there, but you're adding that back in.
I'm trying to add it back in.
Gotcha, okay.
Yes.
I've misunderstood.
And again, these are suggestions, they're merely a vehicle to communicate some of these comments to you, that's all.
Mhm.
On 50, we see that you've added the cash donation of $7,000. We just wanted to be clear that that was a one-time cash donation,
Yeah,
so we just
that's what I meant. right.
requested
That's
the
good.
words one time to make that clear.
Every year into my bank.
I thought the word annual was in there before.
Yeah, sure.
I think Neil wanted it weekly, but.
How do you spell Stanley?
With the D.
Yeah. Very important. And then the last one was 59. Which you could see the correction we tried to make there. There was prior to the construction of the stormwater detention infiltration systems. The language went on to say that the engineer will provide stamp certification that the systems were constructed. So we can't, as great as Austin is, he can't certify that something was constructed prior to it being constructed. So it's just
It's on tape.
I think beyond that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're not leaving here happy. There's a lot of work for us to do here. This is, but we understand it's a complicated project. We think, we're at a place. And hopefully the commission can consider some of those comments.
When you say you have a lot of work to do, are you going to propose more edits?
A lot of work to do that this encumbers us to do.
What's remaining in here
Yeah.
requires a lot of oversight. and
There's a
effort.
lot of stuff.
And to Neil's point, I think both parties not being enamored with it means that a satisfactory compromise was established, right?
It's usually how it
goes, yeah.
It's usually how it goes. I would like to be happier more of the time, but.
Me too, it's a bigger conversation.
Exactly.
That's what I'm gonna do.
All right.
Thank you.
Without getting, okay, thank you.
So we have a motion and a second on the table.
Correct. So we have two options. One is to continue with the motion and vote on it. And if it is approved, to close the hearing and issue an order of conditions within 21 days. I can proceed to do what I wanted to do behind the scenes and provide that information to the commission members prior to 21 days. The applicant will be notified, as we do with all applicants, when the order is ready to be picked up, and then they can review it at that point in time. Or you can withdraw the motion and you can vote to keep the hearing open and just continue it for 2 weeks. Your choice, commission members.
I would be in favor of the latter.
Okay, so that's one bit of input. Let me ask the issue of the motion, since you were the first to make it. Do you wish to withdraw the motion? And basically, if it is voted on by the commission to second and voted by the commission, then I put it procedurally, even though I did add steps to it, and I apologize again, then the hearing would be not closed today, and we can continue it to, the next thing would be to make a motion to continue it to the next hearing.
Some of the times.
Beg your pardon? No, I think you have to withdraw it. I believe. Okay. All right, then what we need is. No, okay. I think it's gonna be 2 weeks versus 21 days potentially, who knows, as far as the whole thing wrapping up. But, so maybe even faster this way, so we would need a second to the motion to withdraw, to Ariane's withdrawal of the motion. I think procedurally we need a second for that. And again, it needs to be Neil, Noel, Ariane, and as the chair, I won't make the motion. A second, but.
I'll second it.
Okay, second. So we have a motion to withdraw the motion to close the hearing for the project and issue our condition. Roll call, James?
Vote on that.
Yes.
I believe you can, because it's about a current motion. You're not actually voting on the project.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Don.
Aye.
Steve, Neil.
Aye.
Mike, aye. Ariane,
Aye.
and Noel online.
Aye.
Okay, so we will not be closing hearing, then I will accept a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of. No, I'm not gonna look at August, just we have one meeting this month, 24th. 24th at 7 p.m. for the, you can read it, sorry, 217 Hartford Avenue project. To 7 p.m. on the 24th of July. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Neil, motion,
Second.
Ariane, second, okay. Again, roll call, because we have one member online. This is to continue, so all members can vote. James?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Mike, aye. Ariane?
Aye.
Noel online?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so 2 weeks, gentlemen, we should have,
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I understand we're not entitled to it. I think the nature of the review we've been able to provide. We wouldn't be looking to make meaningful changes. We're just hoping to make sure that the intent is communicated clearly, as I've mentioned before, for downstream audiences, for clarity and the like. That would be the spirit within which we review this if we're given an opportunity to review it before the next meeting.
all right, I will state for the record that while I hear what you're saying and I understand where you're coming from, having been consistently doing so, for credit to you for persistence on that. I would ask that you respect the fact that we have made it very clear, I think, with multiple members, that at this point in time, an additional review by you of the document of the order of conditions will probably not be forthcoming prior to it being issued to you. So keep that in mind, please, in communicating, especially to our administrator. Between now and then, you feel a need to do so. You can reach out to me if you wish to. I will be amenable to, responding this, I'm able to. But, I just stating that for the record.
And I understand that, and I'm not surprised here again.
I tried to be consistent in expressing where we.
As of we, I don't think we've been trying to change meaning
Consistency of
and
good.
intent with the comments we're providing, but to understand that we've been through the process we've been through, done the amount of review we've done, to have a couple of places where there might be inconsistency in language, and have the only vehicle for us to go to court and or the DEP to correct
Editorial
complex
changes,
language, like
typos,
the
or
nature of the kind of things we do.
complete sentences are certainly appreciated by everybody. We can't have too many eyes catching that. So again, all commission members urge you to look through the documents too, because it could be a couple other easily spottable things. Although taking your name out would probably be one of the easiest things to do editorially. Okay, so thank you, gentlemen. And
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have Blackstone and North Street. Is anybody here in the room for Blackstone and North Street?
Yes, I am.
Well, I know you would be. Thank you.
Oh, you're talking about the public.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. That we shot before. No, anybody else in the audience there? It's like, if you're
See you,
not,
Brian.
you're not in a good position to see what's going on, you want to come up and you look at this. If you're interested, this is the project on North and Blackstone Streets. If you're interested, okay. Okay, we have a opening the hearing, continued hearing for a notice of intent for Blackstone and North Streets, 12 3-unit townhouse buildings, the stormwater management system, and John Mushian, thank you, is the applicant from Raven Homes, and Ryan Racine from Goddard Consulting is the representative. Let me just look at my notes for a second, if I can. I believe that while the planning board is closed on this. Yep. I believe the last meeting you were, Ryan, you said you were waiting for the National Heritage to come back with some information. Have they done so?
No, not yet. So we've submitted all the information to them. We don't know the exact time frame. I think.
And what are they returning back to you? Could you refresh?
Yeah, so we need to get an amended CMP, which is a conservation management permit. So we needed to get an amendment to that because the project had changed from the previous 4 single-family house project.
Right.
So that's what they're reviewing currently, and so we expect to have that probably the middle of next month.
All right, and I had it noted, somebody pointed this out to me the other day, that the conservation restriction. Sorry, was it the trail protection plan that we talked about, with the not going through the roadway? Earlier today, remember? It doesn't go, it goes up to the edge of the roadway. The conservation restriction goes up to the edge of the roadway, or the turtle protection plan goes up to the edge of the roadway.
Oh, no, that was when we were talking about 217 Harvard, and we got confused.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so never mind, different project. We were talking about that, this and that one, and we got sidetracked and
Yeah.
suddenly everyone's up here.
No.
Talking that we're talking about 2 different projects with somebody. Okay, so what we need to do, however, on our part to do complete due diligence is we have not had town council review the conservation restriction. We believe it's in good shape. I've looked it over and made some editorial comments to Hannah, which is incorporated. We'd like to shoot that off to the town council just to do due diligence, since conservation restrictions do have a bit of legalese in them, and we, all the commission members have had a chance to look at it. It gives you a little more time to do so, but I believe they would get back to us within a 2-week period for sure, probably. And barring that, I don't think we had any, if the members have any other questions or concerns about it.
One other update, he had emailed me and then I pinned it and forgot, but it was only Monday. I'm gonna be writing a letter representing you guys stating that
Right,
we are,
accepting the
we're
recipient.
going to accept it, right?
Yeah, willing to hold the conservation restriction,
Right.
because Natural Heritage just is asking for, since the project had changed so much, that you guys are still willing, something in writing, that you guys are still willing to hold the CR, and if you weren't, you would have to go out and find, another land trust or something.
Right, and if you had suggested verbiage that there was work before with National Heritage, and they would like to see us have, I'd suggest you get that to Hannah. She can send it to town council, make sure we're covered with that too, because we want to make sure that we're not stating that we're going to be doing something and miss out 2 words that legally doesn't cover us or something. So if she could submit that along with conservation restriction, to town council for a quick review, hopefully signing off and everything is being good from their point of view, then that would be a 2-for-1 quick thing. If you don't have a suggested draft, then Hannah can draft something up.
Yeah.
Town council says, yes, we'll send it to you, and if any national heritage doesn't like it. they'll let
Yeah,
us
I
know.
think Natural Heritage is just looking for like a quick,
Yeah.
like 2 sentence saying that basically you guys are still willing to hold it. I don't think it needs to be anything.
Okay, so Hannah can draft that up then,
Yeah.
and issue that one to the, and then she'll just keep us all posted, and barring that, I think that we would be closing the hearing and, issuing an order of conditions, which we've also not,
I drafted it, but you
Draft-
know what? I don't think we've talked about it for a month or
Yep.
so.
but we've all seen the order of special.
Yeah.
And
One
I
I've
think no
thrown
one
out
had
there.
any comments at the last
No.
meeting, so
I think, yeah, you
the
mentioned.
anticipation is that we would issue and be ready to sign off on potentially at that meeting or on dot loop, whichever is gonna be quickest for you at the next meeting to
Yeah.
have everything done.
Yeah, there's just 2 quick things that I just wanted to bring up. So
Please do.
one is just an update. So I don't know if you guys were CC'd or given the new MIPA certificate from MIPA. So they, yeah, so I can send that to you. I thought they might have just sent that to you anyways because you're the Conservation Commission, but
Supposed to be on contact. Emails.
right, yeah, and
Well, I haven't been here for a whole year yet, so
What's your meeting? Where are you at?
I forget off the top of my head. But I can send that to you anyways. It basically just said we don't need an environmental impact report, which is the same thing. This is our second notice of budget change, so everything's all set with MIPA. The last thing is the CMP amendment. And then the second thing I just wanted to ask about, because we spoke, I think, last meeting and the meeting before about some of the conditions. And there was the one about the 4 weeks to do a pre-construction meeting and then
And then
another
another
4
I
weeks.
commented on how extensive it seems to be, 8 weeks lead time.
Yeah, and I
before
was
you get
wondering,
going project.
yeah, I was wondering if that could be reduced somewhat, either to like 2 weeks or to 3 weeks, only because with, once we get approval, I'm assuming they want to start this year and you have to start before the end of turtle season, the active season, which is October 15th. And so it may be kind of close, but obviously that's a decision up to you, but I just want.
which part do you want reduced the?
So what does it say that, so it's,
Because what I did change it to based on Mike's comment was that just have everything by the pre-construction meeting. Because I think originally it was like 4 weeks, give me the erosion control situation, then. Sorry, 4 weeks after that would be the construction meeting,
okay, yeah.
and that has to happen 4 weeks before it starts. So it was like over a total of 8 weeks.
Right, yeah, which I was concerned wouldn't be enough time for them to actually start before the end of the active season, because they have to start work
Right.
before,
Protect the turtle.
So
Yeah.
we're proposing that the new language is that there's just one meeting 4 weeks prior to starting
Like,
construction.
there
Having
still
the
was always.
erosion control had to come first, 4 weeks before the pre-construction.
Right.
Then the pre-construction had to happen 4 weeks before the actual construction, so
No, but that's what I said. So
if they have the
we're just
erosion control.
at the pre-construction meeting, 4 weeks before construction,
yeah, right, so we just
So your
have,
lead
yeah, so we
time
have the, yeah,
4
so we have
weeks.
the meeting,
not 8 weeks.
4
Do
weeks
we have to do anything?
from that, we can start work.
Make him confused now. Do you need more time between the?
Less time.
Yeah,
less
You-
time.
No, you haven't sent it to us for signing, so you could amend that.
Edit.
Edit it.
Yes, I
Okay,
haven't,
so
yeah.
the suggestion is if they provide all the erosion control information at the pre-construction meeting, that saves them 4 weeks.
Yep.
If we have 4 weeks in advance and just something's not right, they still have time to fix it before they start the construction. But that's a relatively minor edit, I think, to facilitate what's been going on for quite a while and gives us we're not helping developers so much as helping the turtles get this protection in place before they.
Right,
Well,
or
they
else,
have to
yeah,
see-
or else we have to wait until April to then start work, so I was just trying to.
No, I think that that's a reasonable request and I think I'll
Yeah.
scroll. Paul.
I thought that's where we
Yeah,
landed
that's.
generally
Can we-
last time,
Can
so.
we make it so that we have the ability, if all is well at the pre-construction meeting, to say the plans were fine on site? I'm assuming we're going when the erosion controls are installed, so we're seeing that they're placed correctly based off the plans that we're given.
Right.
But it's all good. Why do they have to wait another 4 weeks?
It was just in the way it was pre-written. There's more of a standard perhaps in many projects, they don't care, but in this one, the timing does seem to be more important, so.
I think it might be something along the lines that like at this pre-construction meeting, if we're going over stuff and there's some things that we're like, wait, no, or this needs to be fixed, they have a month.
It gives everybody time to react, and on bigger projects, that's usually.
So the way it's written now is it's mandatory 4 weeks.
So I would
Can we make it, can we make it?
change it like no.
It's
later
4 weeks
than-
and
So that way, if all's good, that day we can say, yep, everything looks good, you guys can start tomorrow.
well, I think we're not rushing it that much. I think we're basically saying that the erosion control doesn't have to be done 4 weeks before and presented to the commission for review. 4 weeks before the pre-construction, which is 4 weeks before the construction. It's at the pre-construction meeting, the erosion control stuff has to be presented and provided. That gives them a month to fix it if we don't like something we see, whether it's a site visit you said at that time, or just in the meeting, and then the site visit follows up a couple of days later.
I was getting confused about this at the last hearing.
Yeah.
we had.
It's 2 4-week periods, and we're basically making it down to 1 4-week
Because
period.
when I hear pre-construction meeting, I'm thinking of it from my like work side of things, but
Right.
I'm going on site and viewing things. So from what I'm hearing, it could be a construction review meeting is here.
Yeah,
Yes.
and any department involved with this.
Whereas the first one may not even been a meeting, it was just provide this erosion, if I remember, it's just provide all the erosion control,
Yeah.
sedimentation control
Plans.
plans and stuff in place, which I think that's a very reasonable request. So I think if Hannah has that direction, she can try that in something which we haven't even seen to sign off on. That'll go forward. Unless the commission members, Noel, do you have any, you following that? Do you have any online?
And we still do
Feedback?
inspection once they're installed.
Right.
So that,
I figured, that's why I thought it must have been combined, like we'd go on site after.
Mike, I think you're right. The first one, number 29, says 4 weeks prior to the meeting, we will receive the plans and information.
Which they can get at the meeting. I think that the plans and information will be straightforward enough in this small project. It's
But James is asking for it to be in place at the meeting.
the erosion control
No,
stuff.
I was getting confused. Meeting to me meant on site, not here, reviewing it on paper. That's
So
what-
site visits will happen, I'm sure, as part of this process, and that's in place in the sidewalks will have to be done, the erosion control has to be verified by the construction administrator or their agent, blah, blah, representative. And so, okay. Noel, any comments online? Noel,
Thanks for asking me, Mike, but no, I don't have any comments.
okay, so straw poll seems to be, Hannah's got a direction, that's good. Ryan, you're hearing 2 weeks, it looks like, so I'll accept the motion, barring any other questions or discussion by the commission for this particular project, to the evening of July 24th at 7 PM for the Blackstone and North project, 12 three-unit townhouse buildings with stormwater management system. Accept the motion in a second on that.
Are we just continuing or are we?
Just continuing so that we can have the orders prepared and the conservation restriction reviewed by the town attorney. Town council, just to make sure everything is kosher, it should be, but want to be covered.
So moved.
Thank you, Ariane, for motion. Second,
seconded.
Don, thank you. All in favor, again, roll call vote. Noel online, throwing things backwards.
Aye.
Ariane,
Aye.
Mike, aye. Neil?
Aye.
Thanks,
Aye.
Steve. Aye. Don?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian.
And Hannah also did the new certificate when we got.
Perfect, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay. You up for support to Silver Lake Road, anyone?
Oh, Jude.
Yeah, Jude online. I got you there, Jude. I just make sure nobody else in the room is. Thank you very much. Okay.
Can I share my
Um,
screen?
Oh,
We
yeah.
will give you that ability to share screen in just a moment. This is a notice of intent for a new hearing. For 42 Silver Lake Road with an expansion of existing septic and extension of water line for a detached garage with in-law apartment. Carol Ricker, 42 Silver Lake Road is the applicant. Their representative tonight is Jude Goffin from OHI Engineering, Inc. And Jude, you have shared your screen, which we are looking at. Can you just run us through the project, please?
Absolutely. Good evening. My name's Jude from OHI and Engineering. I'm here rep Paul Ricker of 42 Silver Lake Road. This project is an existing order of conditions that we had before you. They're looking to move, they're building an addition and looking to move their mom into an in-law apartment. And we provided a sewer, a sewer line to their existing septic tank. And what we tried to do before in the previous order of conditions was we were going to expand this existing septic tank because we didn't want to go all the way down the road there's a sewer stub down at the street. It's approximately 480 feet from the septic tank down to the street. So we proposed to expand the septic tank. Well, as luck would have it, or bad luck would have it for these poor people, the contractor started to dig up the septic system and realized that it was flooded. So they pumped the tank out, and it's in order to repair the entire system, because it's a failed septic system at this point, it's easier to actually connect it down to the sewer and bring it down to the road to the existing sewer stub that's out at the street. So what that entails is us to bring the sewer line across the front yard, and then we're going to go as close as we can to the driveway that's there now. If you're heading up the house, it's on the left-hand side, because there's a water line that runs down the right-hand side of the driveway. This wetland is naturally protected by a berm. There's about a 3 to 4 foot berm that is between the existing driveway and the wetlands. So all that water comes down and goes into an infiltration basin midway down the property, and then exits out to the street eventually. So none of it really runs off to the wetland area itself. But our proposal is to do a cut and cover. There's notes on the plan to only expose a certain amount of a length that they can install in one day. And I've got a series of check dams at the points where I think that they're going to make it in a day. So we're just asking for an amendment to the existing order of conditions that allowed the house, the in-law apartment to be built in an expansion of the septic system. So instead of doing an expansion on the septic, we're proposing sewer going down the driveway.
Okay, just give me a second to verify something. The second dashed line, the one closest to the right side of the driveway, is that I'm looking at I see 25 foot, is that the 50 foot?
This is 50 here, yeah.
Okay. So you're well outside of the 50 on the other side of the driveway.
Yes.
And is the area to the left side of the driveway as you're going up, or where the line's gonna be, is that grass right up to the edge of the driveway disturbed already? And mowed and so forth, or is it vegetated with?
It's existing lawn right up to the edge of
Okay,
the
so
driveway.
you're going over previously disturbed area as it goes.
Correct.
Okay. Commission members?
And were there any comments from DEP when they issued the order, the number?
When they issued it?
When they issued the number, do they have any?
I can check real quick.
They wouldn't have reissued a number because this is an amendment.
I know, he's asking for the original.
Ah,
Yeah, I see a,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I was confused. Because it said,
105 dash line.
right, this shows it as that it is an NOI and not a. Sorry, our agenda shows it as an NOI, not an amendment.
Oh, I've never had one, so I don't.
And
know
it
what
shows a
said.
new here, and it shows a new hearing number
A new-
without a
Oh, so
DEP
then-
number, so I thought this was.
oh, now I
thought
get
this
it.
was a new hearing.
Okay, so
Okay.
yes. So there is already a DEP number, I should say, not new hearing, but just hearing, I guess, and then not NOI, but amendment.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
956.
These are unprecedented, so for us, so we'll make a note for that. I'll make a note on this too.
Well, that's how I live my life, unprecedented.
Well, we've had them.
So sewer line, does it go up to where the original septic system was to provide sewer to the house as well?
Yes.
Pass through.
I think it's this line over here goes from the.
So we're proposing to put a sewer manhole in here and intercept this dash line is the existing sewer that comes out.
Gotcha.
This black line is the newer line, and we're proposing to put a sewer manhole in place before the old septic system, and we're proposing to crush and backfill the septic and just leave it as is. And then the new sewer line will continue down to the driveway.
Do you have a detail on that manhole?
I don't see one. I see evacuation fill, temporary stockpile.
No, I didn't put one on here. I can provide one though.
Yeah, I think we'd like to see that just for the record. And the gray area just above the manhole, is that the addition? That's
the existing house.
no, I thought the house was straight.
This is the new.
Oh, the new house is to the left. The existing house is
Correct.
being tied in as well, correct?
Correct.
The line,
That's the line they're feeding.
the little dotted line is
That's
the
the
connection.
existing line that they're gonna connect into.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, he's showing the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I just didn't see it marked out as such. with a little notation, so I want to make sure the house is connected. I'm sure you would have done that.
I remember this one now.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good news.
Yeah, that's,
okay.
I have a
The-
question.
we did.
the garage apartment is kind of cut into the side of the hill.
You got it. Yep.
Steve, you have a question?
Applicant, so if I imagine the sequence, there's a certain amount of demolition of the existing leach field that has to occur before you can put the pipe in.
Correct. And well, the certain demolition is that the tank has been pumped out. And once, right before we put that sewer manhole in, we'll pump that tank out one more time. And then they'll tie that sewer manhole in and that'll be the last thing that we tie in is this line
The
here.
system being used at all at the moment?
It is being used, yeah, which, I mean, we opened it up and the water was right at the D-box level, which was very surprising because this house was only built in 2012, but you know, the cost of replacing it is a lot of money to replace the whole system, so it's easier to just put the sewer line in.
Yes, well, that's up to contracts. Okay, any other questions for the, seems pretty straightforward, looks like it's.
Wait, so you're gonna tie in the sewer to the existing septic?
No, he's gonna put a sewer line down to the street and go right.
The manhole is gonna collect from the existing pipe from the house.
And
Is gonna be cut at the manhole. It's gonna feed into the manhole and the new line from the apartment is gonna feed into the manhole. And then they're
Feed in
gonna
there
pull
and
and feed
feed
out
in
of the
here.
street.
And then go all the way down on that side of the driveway to the street. So it's putting a sewer line in instead of replacing a failed septic system in an area that probably fail again. I don't see it as being since they're staying well outside of any resource area and working in an area that's already been disturbed and is grassed over next to a driveway. I think it's pretty straightforward. Any other commission members?
just like a detail on the clean out as well.
Okay, do you got that? The clean out as well, potentially? Can you provide that too?
Absolutely.
Excellent. 1 second, Rob?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, sorry, just quick question, Jude. Have you talked to DPW at all with the connection?
I've
I
talked
know
to,
that this is an existing stub, but I don't know what the protocol is for them to inspect the stub and if there's anything related. I don't know if they need a specific detail for the connection.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
No sense in putting it all the way down the road and finding out that it doesn't work at the square peg round hole or something like that at the bottom of the hill.
so, I have talked to the sewer department, about this project and they've sent me the information that I needed for the sewer tie-in. But because we had a machine on site, doing the foundation for the new house, you know, it's nice to have the plans and information, but we went out and we actually dug it up and I survey located it, so I have the exact elevation of the sewer stub. And the sewer department was very happy that I went out and did that, and we're just, I didn't submit all the details on this plan because it was the conservation plan and we're more concerned with erosion control and stuff, but the sewer plan once this is approved, with your comments, obviously, then I'm gonna add the clean out details. I'm gonna show a profile, making sure this thing's underground, and I'm gonna show the sewer manhole details. So I can certainly, with, you know, moving forward in having this be an amendment, I can certainly provide those plans with you within a day or two, because my plan was, once I had this meeting with the conservation, was to roll right into the sewer design plan.
Okay.
So if there aren't enough details on here, my apologies, but I thought this was adequate for the conservation purposes, but I'm
Oh, we always
certain.
like to make things a little harder for the applicants. Our work for you there, as you might have overheard. Okay, now I think that answered Rob's question sufficiently. Any other commission members have questions about this?
I got two. One
James?
should be quick and administrative. When was the original order?
When I first started, it was one of my first.
Jude, do you know when the order was officially issued?
Oh, I think it was September of last year, maybe October.
That's the dumb question because I'm thinking over 3 years, but we're.
Well, within 3 years, so within 3 years.
Approved it on September 13th.
Yeah, we're well within the 3 years for sure.
Okay, and the second question,
Second
James?
question, do you know your depth to groundwater for this linear section?
I know the depth of groundwater based on the existing soil pits for the septic system when it was originally designed. And we're well above that because I'm trying to be 4 feet under the ground and this system was buried a little deeper than usual. So this system sits about 5 or 6 feet under the ground. So the groundwater,
Okay, so you're not expecting to dewater at all?
no.
Good question, yeah, okay.
Yep, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
No, but to James's point, if you do run into a dewatering situation, that's gonna be a stop until we can evaluate a mitigation plan.
Dewatering plan, yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. And that maybe gets stuck in the order of condition. Oh, no, we don't amend.
Yeah, that's the only thing is I don't know.
So now how do we amend this?
Do I write a new one or do I just add?
You issue it as an amendment.
Does that include the original and then I?
It's the same number. I think it's a
We
separate.
just write in there that the changes that are being made are the following.
I believe it's a separate WPA form amended. Then after that, you can add. You can copy your existing conditions.
If we had 12 bullets, and we're gonna put 2 more on,
Just
you
add.
just add them at the
Okay.
bottom.
I'm thinking like in my mind that there's probably gonna be conflicting ones potentially.
But yeah,
That's
Because
fine.
it's different
Once,
stuff.
once you issue the amended one, the original one doesn't count.
I see.
Right.
Okay, so
I can
re-add
help
the
you.
ones that still
But any
matter.
conditions related to the septic
Yeah,
would obviously go away.
right, yes.
So
Okay,
you'd have to look at it from that point of view.
yep, can do.
Other than that, I got no help for you.
okay.
I can help you, Hannah.
So I-
Oh, okay, so the applicant.
Yeah, okay. So I will accept the motion to approve the amended order of conditions for 42 Silver Lake Road expansion, 6 existing septic and extension of water line for detached garage within the apartment.
So
Prepare them, they haven't been written to approve them.
To prepare, write, and issue for signature a amended order of conditions for 42 Silver Lake Road. I will accept the motion in a second. James first. Anybody second? Let's see, second, thank you. All in favor, Noel.
Aye.
Aye online, thank you, Ariane, Mike,
I,
aye, Neil,
Yeah, okay.
aye, grudgingly. Steve, aye, Don.
Aye.
And James. All right, unanimous vote. Thank you very much, Jude.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Okay,
is that the same rule with the 21 day? To write that?
probably I would need to check. There's something in the DEP
I have
regs.
voted no more times than.
I think I can probably do it.
I
sooner
think
than that.
Hannah will inform you about the status of getting the amended order, Jude, and when you're ready to get it transmitted to you or picked up, whatever, she'll coordinate that with you.
Okay, thank you very much.
As soon as we've signed off on, so keep an eye out for dot loops and stuff, guys, so we can hopefully that is. That subject is not fun, yeah. All right, thank you. Thank
Good
you, Jude. Night.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna wrap up all the fun stuff. Wait, Fred? No, that's 12.
Septic, that's what he said.
Oh, you're right, okay. Oh, whatever I
No,
did.
yeah, the house was built in 2012. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, he was tying his.
That was one of the factors along the backside there, wasn't it?
I need to update you guys on something. Hannah needs to step out in 2 minutes for 15, 20, whatever. And during that time, we can try to cover some of these things, but I don't know what some of them are.
Oh, I just gave him the whole email notes.
Did it? Oh.
So there's emails to 50 Farm. Does Rob know about 50 Farm, 90 Pleasant and the conservation trail parcels? That you can cover that while you're,
I mean, this will take like 10 minutes. I can stay for this.
okay.
I'm not that.
And then
tired
at
of
the
this
very end, I have a personal update.
You won't turn into a
Remember, so,
pumpkin?
No, I'll stay online if you would at the very end, please. Okay, so let's go through them as fast as you want to there.
Okay, so the conservation trail parcel, we got an email from someone named Kavi or Kavi. He was gonna show up tonight and he emailed me saying he forgot, but that's okay. Basically, he is curious about the parcel, which I can pull up, that's near the Charles River, that is our property. Traditionally or historically, there was ATVs that went through it. At some point, I think us or somebody put like granite blocks to block the entrance for ATVs. So there's still a trail, but now it's over ground. And
Is that off the street where the Charles River kind of cuts across?
I'll just pull it up, because I
Yeah.
don't even wanna say, yeah, and then, I don't know.
There's just some trail markers, I think, on the side of the road.
Charles River coast.
Where is this?
We don't know,
Off of
somewhere along.
Maple Street, I think it is. Now, what's the street that cuts across,
High Street.
High Street? I think that's where she's talking about, because I've seen the blocks there.
Oh, yeah, just past the little stone, the little bridge that always gets trying to truck
Right.
trailers trying to cross the Department of
This is past the fields, past the softball field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
past the
the water,
softball fields heading
this
towards
is
High
right.
Street.
Before.
No,
High
no,
Street,
it's
yes.
state level.
If you enter
Army Corps
High
of
Street
It's
from,
past the Army Corps of Engineers water and the bridge that goes over High Street, High Street
You mean the bridge that goes over the Charles River,
slash, yeah.
the Charles River?
Charles, yeah, right,
Should
Army
I
Corps of
screen it
Engineers
like that
area.
debated
They
stuff?
control that area, but
Correct.
then, the path is, you put the-
Heading up towards Maple.
we almost got run
Yeah,
over, yeah.
Heading up towards Maple
Yes,
Street.
going up towards Maple Street.
That's our property,
Yeah, right.
behind Victory.
Look at the computer screen.
Look at the screen, there you go.
Right.
Hey, where is it?
This one,
Yeah, that's ours.
that is yours. I
Yeah.
guess there's some blocks here, I don't know.
Yeah,
Phase.
yes,
Well, there's an easement there for the Army.
yes.
So what do they want to do? What do they want?
So they are offering if they have permission to make the trail look nicer, if we're okay with still having a trail there. And he even said that he could probably get some neighbors to help him too.
Public access trail or ATV trail?
Well,
Oh, for his dogs, walking his
for
dogs.
historic
Can you go
context,
back to the map?
when we got that parcel, when they built Victory,
so that's not by High.
No, it's not.
That's not by High Street.
oh, that is,
That's on that's Hartford Ave and Maple
Yeah, so
Street
that's,
intersection.
so that's up towards, so I thought it was further down.
oh,
So this would be,
Oh, this is
there's
the very-
factories
almost the
up
very-
there.
almost the very north
That's
end,
Ray Ave.
This is across from Stallbrook.
not quite, no.
Well,
No,
yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
oh,
I have a secondary
It's just,
unrelated question.
it's just
to this.
before you get to Stallbrook. and
Yeah. Okay, totally different spot.
okay, totally different spot.
Every time I
Yeah,
pull up
totally
maps-
different.
Victory's not
Yeah,
far.
Victory.
Yeah, Victory's way
There's a
there.
Do
culvert,
we
never
want
mind.
any trails?
so they want to make that look nicer for the dogs.
Yeah.
And I think we just want to make sure they aren't clear cutting with a chainsaw 10 feet wide.
Who's the person?
Or just how wide and so forth, you know, it's a curve, right?
Let's see what my email says.
Some guidance on that would be
Michael
helpful, but
Siegel? Tabby Siegel?
I'm not enough savvy to know what. to even
I'm
recommend.
impressed they asked. I usually just go in with hand clippers and trim the branches.
As long as they don't hit me in the face, so.
So
I know.
I put it on like.
Excuse me, gentlemen, we got a hand to get through here, this.
So I put Kaya on this to actually walk the trail, because we're also in open space. We're GPS coordinating all the trails in
Right.
town. And so he's gonna go out there and take pictures for us. He's sick right now, so he has a really bad sunburn right now. He said it was
Too much
threatening.
fun in the sun. Well,
So,
my recommendation is that he also research a little bit and find out what trail recommendations are, width and so forth, and.
like how to clean a trail.
Well, not like, do we make it 4 feet wide, 3 feet wide? There's probably general guidance from what Boy Scouts or Trailblazers of America, something like that, so that we have some sense to provide to the person who's gonna clean. You know, please come with clippers or saws, no more than 4 feet wide or 5 feet wide. We don't wanna make it too accessible.
Oh, he wants to help. We're not gonna give him a list of chores.
Not sure, it's just like, don't go in there and cut it 10 feet wide, so we can have ATVs passing each other in races, you know, whatever. I'm
Yeah.
sure he wouldn't want
The
to do that.
intent is for
Okay.
walking.
I just a little
yes.
research for Kai too, for future trail reference.
Yeah.
Information, okay, sounds good.
Can we leave this map here?
There are other resources around, there are other, Medway, Hopkinton, other towns have trail committees, so
Yeah.
there might be some
We can
online
research.
resources.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
This is a question for the board. Hannah, can you put the cursor on that house? That's Steve Russicourt? It is. He called me yesterday through, Bill O'Connell, asking what the status is of this dam being removed.
It's been
Oh.
removed,
Oh, wait, no, I-
oh, that's the
You're
one we
talking
haven't
about
removed,
Pearl.
that's the one we haven't removed.
Right.
That one, I went out October, November with DPW. Is that the old North Bellingham Dam?
Probably.
That makes sense. It is the
It's
north
north
side.
end of town.
There was gonna be a case study, there was gonna be a study on it first. And their intern was applying for funding, and I thought it got accepted, but I have not heard an update since.
So we need to provide some information after some research, is the answer, short answer.
But it
I
is
told him
family.
I'd call him back tomorrow.
Yeah, so we think the study's being done and they're looking for funding.
Yeah, ask them to call
It should be.
Sean.
Sean
Harrington.
who?
Sean Harrington, DPW is the one who's in charge of that.
It's not much of a dam.
Yeah, it's not.
The culvert is my bigger concern because you have all these logging trucks and that shouldn't be going out that way, but do, the mulch mountain people and, the warehouse, Amazon. So you got 18 wheels going over that culvert that's right where that flows underneath the Maple Street, and there's no signage for weight limits on that, and it's a culvert. Could be a steel pipe that's rusting away, who knows, and if that collapses, you got a lot of residents down there that's gonna have a go through Pilgrim Villages with bad paths, I guess, but I've not got an answer yet from the DPW. I asked Don DiMartino before he left about that, because I thought about it and he never gave me an answer. I'm sure it's a,
Removing that dam, I think, would be a long-term beneficial thing for the health of the river, so.
yeah, problem.
Yeah.
Okay, 50 farm,
That's Army Corps Lane.
Right,
maybe.
that's why it was complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Why is it there?
who knows?
Or the old mill, the mill's right there
I
on the other
wasn't
side
there.
of Maple Street.
Yeah, that's true. The mill's right along Maple Street, there, Woodward.
It's an old mill.
Yeah,
It's
isn't it
called
this
no-
property right here? Isn't
We don't
there?
know. No one knows.
Keep going, Hannah, keep going.
So,
I'm just
gonna
pushing
do
along
this
here,
to
'cause I know you wanna go too.
okay, so. Anyone look at the minutes?
I didn't see the minutes sent to us. Were they informal?
There?
I missed it. My bad, I missed it. I didn't.
Okay, there's only two, it's only
And
for
there's
June.
June, so we're. well,
Okay, so the last thing is
50 farm or 90 Pleasant.
90 Pleasant, so we drove by yesterday. This is the complaint we got from DEP. It was an anonymous complaint sent to DEP, and then they contacted me saying, have you heard about this? There was a filing back in 2013 for a septic repair, but otherwise nothing. And so when we drove by, you can see that they've totally do this up. This is all wetlands back here. And then right here where my cursor is, that's actually a bunch of logs. I don't know if you can see better, but he's like cutting a bunch of things.
In the wetlands, or right
Yeah,
next to it,
yeah, definitely within,
25 feet.
yeah.
All right, so they should follow an NOI.
But I didn't like get out of the truck and walk on their property, obviously, so.
And you think that there was gonna be a septic something put in there, or they?
2013, they did
What's
have a
that
filing.
vent pipe for?
That's definitely a charcoal filter for a septic system.
Where?
So they have a septic put in, that pipe.
That white pipe. Yeah.
So they have a septic that was put in back in the day, so at that point in time, they should have known a wetlands line.
Yeah,
And they're just doing some other project, we don't know what it is, but obviously.
I mean, the house could have been sold.
Well, we should have the records too. We should have a wetland line and all that from then to the septic. We should have the records for
Oh,
Right.
so I could say exactly
that.
like.
We know exactly where the line was in 20, whatever, when.
Right, I
Yeah,
think then we
13.
just send them a note or a letter or something indicating that it looks like you're working in there, you shouldn't be, you need to come before us and provide it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Invite them in.
Invite them in. We hope to see visitors.
that hits it. Oh, because I think almost everyone signed 50 farm, but I have majority, so.
I'm gonna show Hannah something after site visit instruction home, but if she was going to. But behind the gas station that's opposite the middle school on 126, if you're familiar with it. I was notified by an abutter who lives just downhill from the backside of that property that they have cleared behind the gas station / the house next to it. So they have a residence that probably is owned by the people that own the gas station, he believes. And they're putting in what appear to be 4 basketball courts or handball courts. It's gone back and forth. And pickleball potentially, although they're bringing a ton of concrete bags and concrete. They have not filed anything with Tim for building department. This person has heard that similar things have been done in other towns where involve betting. And food sales and liquor sales and partying and late nights and traffic and issues have been stopped. in other towns.
this?
Where the gas station used to be getting.
Is this BP or?
It used to be where BP, now it's closed.
Yeah, did they,
So it's right up to the
take
middle
over?
school, just where you turn
Right,
right.
Wingers.
Yes, Wegmans, right next to Wegmans. So it's Wegmans is down
Yeah,
south of them. This is the gas station, then there's a residential house or two.
So this is potential, if they're impacting the wetlands, this is gonna potential affect that system,
And
that
there-
downstream
and I was-
system that we.
Wait, but I was also informed that there's a behind those houses in that area, there's a culvert, open culvert that runs into, at some point in time, a catch basin, which is not maintained by the DPW, but has a pipe, probably an 8 or 10 inch pipe that goes down and connects into Stephen Road, right, the loop that I live on, which then feeds over to the Wagner as part of the drainage system. So that is, that gets flooded periodically. The name this guy is called DPW because his backyard gets flooded now with water substantially. And that culvert may not be big enough to handle this additional project. So Rob has been alerted to this too. He and Tim went out and saw this. I'm gonna show Hannah where it is, so if we need to do it, and they're well within probably 25 feet. And if not, this potentially could impact us. So he may need to file something with this. It is zoned business residential. So it's a combination of doing it behind that gas station in the house and it's a business and they're just doing it
Well,
to
that's-
have fun, that's one thing. But if they're starting to sell stuff. and
But that's
operate-
not our problem.
Right, that's not
That's
a
not
problem.
our problem.
Only if it becomes a wetland stuff. I'm just mentioning it, if they're within 25 foot, which it sounded like, and there's drainage issues down into a project.
If they're in with 100 foot,
Right,
it's a problem.
yeah, they're well within 100,
Then it's a problem.
yeah, and they haven't filed anything,
Period.
so just, we'll have to, what's that?
I don't care what they're doing. It's within 100 foot.
It used to be a jump way to the west.
You're talking about this parcel right here? Oh.
5918. Backyard build cars.
Zooming out again. Oh, yeah, I can't see those cars.
Yeah.
Another house.
Yeah, there's possibly junk there, so if it's still operating and the shed, so Wagner's shed scope is impacted wetlands down, water flow down the hill too. And I don't know how much that they do, but anyway, just a heads up that might become on the commission's radar down the road.
But the other departments are on this.
We were out there this morning,
Rob and
actually,
Tim were
Tim and I, to basically look at what has happened. I took a walk in the backside. Cause I think if you look at the imagery, there was some type of clearing there that had equipment or something.
Right, it used to be a junkyard. It was cleaned out of a junkyard
Yeah.
when they sold the property a while back, according to the butter, who's very familiar with his neighbors uphill.
Yeah, but there were, to your point, there's pallets and pallets of concrete, because the guy wanted to put some type of court back there, which Tim and I basically told him, no dice, you can't just be doing this, you need approval, so that stopped, and then, basically, if you want to do something, there's a proper avenue to get these things approved.
Right. Sounds like both building and conservation, if they're that close to and into areas they shouldn't be.
And on the planning side, there's potentially a special permit through ZBA for these sorts of things. And potentially with the increased impervious area, some other permits. So we're on top of it. We've met with the gentleman and he's not gonna be pouring concrete or anything. We're gonna be working with him closely. And maybe Hannah, when you're in, maybe we can take a walk down there to just take a look in the back to see.
Yeah.
I didn't go way in the back. If there's a drainage ditch, I wanna see if there is
Yeah,
one.
and it runs into some sort of collection.
I think it's it's either 1056 or 1054. I think it's 1056. Yeah, 1056 South Main.
At Bradley Square.
So the Getty, old whatever Getty, what it used to be, and
Yeah.
and then the ones the house to the right of it, I think, are owned by the same.
Not even a gas station?
They just closed it
Okay.
after they sold it. The people that have been operating for SDP people want to closed up, sold to somebody else apparently. Well, apparently I think going to the house to the right now. Don't know why, don't know how soon that happened, but
Well, it's vacant, it's empty.
yeah.
Speaking of shenanigans, did anybody get a chance to look at the mulch pile?
I drove by it,
Yes.
but it wasn't even been used, so.
I think you're right. I did not enter the property, for driving by.
Oh,
The logs are supposed,
Backside,
I was like
Seems to
trying to
be
remember, did I asked?
they're not supposed to be going up to the fence. There's supposed to be a line of logs that comes along from the street, comes along perpendicular to the street and then curves and runs parallel to that fence along the back
Allowing
side.
for
Those big
emergency
logs,
access.
and to
vehicles
keep
go
them
by.
away from that fence, and they have. Those logs are gone and they're right up against the fence with doing stuff, and I don't believe that
And
is.
conservation property on the other side of it.
I don't believe that's approved by us.
So they're in violation of their existing
We need to
Concom.
pull all that stuff back and put those logs back in place and keep that border secure for.
If we notify them, we should be able to go on site and just tell them, we want to, that we have the right to inspect it, we have a violation.
Maybe you and I can. work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Planning
But
side.
denied.
The same thing. Oh, no, I was like, what did I
Pretty much.
lead that off with? And I had found their order conditions,
Pretty much.
but I didn't know
I think,
if they were violating 24 or 41. And
Are you looking at whether there was a previous enforcement order? Because Ariane's thinking that we already had to do that once because they violated.
Oh, we had an enforcement order on them from day one.
Oh, just because
Oh.
we didn't think that they had. faulty
They
permit.
didn't.
Right, and then we finally had to give them an order of conditions just for James, because they met all the conditions for creating it. They're tearing the house down that's next to it. They're gonna put a detention basin in to meet the stormwater requirements of an impervious, basically padded area up above. They've met, so they're still, but they're still in lawsuits with the town, I think, litigation, because they never got an original permit to approve them to put in a mulch processing.
And they got on fire.
Right.
So what do we do about it?
so what I originally asked in our recap email was which order, or sorry, which condition you thought that they were violating, because I was like, it could be number 41 or number 24. I can send this to you again, but
Yes,
like
please.
either way, neither of those specifically said what you.
Right, it didn't
Like
lay
the
out,
law.
I looked at those two things and I was looking for and fire road access had to be provided as part of the approval process. Fire department insisted we're not gonna drive them
Probably
around multiple, give us a perimeter road that the barrier logs were supposed to maintain 15 foot or whatever it was. But I don't know.
It's not explicitly
It's
described.
not, we'll look at it, and if we say to them that that's a violation and they wanna fight it, then we can
Fight it.
fight it ourselves, because I think, can go back to the minutes and the records and call up the hearings and see where that was discussed and brought up, and it wasn't even put in the order conditions, whatever. But maybe they'll just be nice and back the logs off, put the logs back, and
And you can see in Google Maps, they're gone.
probably they won't. Do you see in Google Maps what?
Yeah, right here. They're gone.
The logs are gone.
They've been going a while.
Can you see them in a historic view?
What was that?
Your Google Earth, can you go back in time?
All right.
No.
All right.
Okay, well, we wanna let Hannah go do whatever and have stuff, whatever. Hannah has stuff to do. I wanna talk to Rob about something, but I wanna give some personal good news update. I had a CAT scan done on Monday, second one in 4 months, and it showed nothing but good, pretty much. Markets is now areas that were an issue are shrinking, which is good. Main pancreas is still there, but it's not getting any bigger. Doctor said basically it's the best news he could give me for that, and so we're continuing chemo, maybe looking at some clinical trials down the road. And feeling good and, just hanging in there. So want you to get a good.
Yeah, it's nice to.
Yeah, the meeting on a good note, so appreciate all your support and keep up the good work, everybody. And I'll accept a motion to, unless there's any other business, to close the meeting and adjourn.
So move, Journal.
Neil,
Seconded.
second, Don, thank you, all in favor?
All right.
Aye, Noel online,
Aye.
aye, everybody that said aye, for the record. Thank you very much, thanks, Rob,
Hi, thanks for joining, Noel.
thank you for coming in and sitting here through the whole thing.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a nice night.